Hello. I'm actually standing before you kind of a broken-hearted person right now. I'm not going to tell you that story because it's that's kind of raw right now, and it's a good story and it goes on for a long time. But you're not going to hear it. So I'm going to tell you a different story. This happened quite a while ago. And it's kind of like two stories that converge, and it's really not much of a story at all, but I did think about it on Valentine's Day. Because I lived with a girl for a couple of years. Her name was Naomi, and she broke up with me kind of at the beginning of February. And so I never really cared about Valentine's Day very much. But when you get broken up with, you know, a couple weeks beforehand, it kind of seems significant to you, you know. Before Valentine's Day, you know, it just makes you look crazy. And I got drunk all the time. It was really fun. And I didn't really find anybody, thank God. And But anyway, so I lived with Naomi for a couple of years. She broke up with me around February 2nd or 1st or something. And since I've lived with her and she broke up with me, that means she kind of kicked me out. And so she immediately took up with this guy named Patrick, like the next day or a couple of days maybe. And he had a bald head. And I pictured myself, I'm a violent person by nature. I mean, I think I'm very nice, and I know it's wrong to kill people and hit people and stuff, but it still comes to mind at times when, you know, I'm pissed off. But I pictured, like, drop-kicking his head, like a football, you know, and, like, kind of, you know, basically killing him because he caused me a lot of pain. And one of the things that happened was, this is kind of tangential, but I think it really gets to the heart of how I felt. Like that week that, you know, after I had been broken up with and they started going out, they went to see a movie called, what's the one? It's Mark Wahlberg and Julianne Moore, Boogie Nights. And she told me about this, you know, like, called, oh, da-da, what are you doing? Oh, I went to see Boogie Nights with Patrick. And it's this porn movie, and I kind of figured, like, oh, you know, they're seeing it, and they do it, like, they go home and they get all turned on because it's a porn movie. And I've never seen it, but, like, years later, and this was, like, 7 years later, I rented it from the library on DVD, and I just kept renewing it, but I never watched it. And you can keep a movie for 7 months until, if nobody else puts it on hold, you just get to keep it. And then finally you have to, and I turned it back on the day that it was due when I couldn't renew it anymore. And, but that's how bitter, you know, that's how hurt I was by the whole thing. And I'm over it, and I was over it by then pretty much, but you know, it still kind of irked me. So I moved to Alaska for about a year. I thought I was okay. I came back. I wasn't okay at all yet. And but then a little time went by again, you know, it was a couple years later. And Naomi and I went out again and then broke up again, but that was okay. And then after that, well, during that time, actually, she lived with Patrick again. But they weren't together as a couple, they just lived together. And so I kind of, and the thing was, see, I had thought that Patrick liked her beforehand. And we were at this club one time, and I was walking out, and he actually kissed me on the mouth. I mean, he walked up, this is before that he stole my girlfriend, but he walked up and he kissed me on the mouth. And I don't understand why. I've never understood why. I thought he was pure evil. What would you think? You know, you want to steal my girlfriend, and I know it, and then he does, and he kissed me on the goddamn lips, you know, and I let him do it. I didn't know. I was like, what the fuck? You know, it's too shocking to even, you know, punch him. Like I said, I'm violent. I thought about killing him, but I couldn't do it. And then it seemed like he was really a sweet person. Like, I couldn't hate him. I didn't exactly like him, but I didn't exactly like him, but I kind of accepted him. I knew that he caused me pain and felt bad about it. We never talked about any of this, but it's just obvious from the way, you know, we all kind of interacted that everything was fine. And so another thing that happened, and this is kind of, I'm not sure exactly the timing on it, but I had this job at the big pink building downtown, and I loved the burrito carts across the street, and I had like 5 favorite burrito carts, and like in my 3rd favorite burrito cart was this girl that worked there that I just had this mad crush on. She was so cute, and I could never, you know, I would just give her the money, and, you know, she'd give me the burrito, and I would be like, I love it. But I couldn't say anything. I never said anything, you know. And I don't know if she knew who I was or whatever. I didn't have that job anymore, and I guess she didn't work at the burrito cart. And this is kind of like 2 or 3 years later. Naomi and I didn't go out, weren't going out at this point, but she called me up one day and she said, you know, I've got some pot I'd like to give you. And she kind of has a source or whatever, so, you know, I mean, kind of giving this away, I guess. Don't ever tell, and all of you, you're sworn to secrecy here. I never told you anything about that. But she was working at the Portland State Bookstore with Patrick, and also that girl that I had the crush on. And so if you've ever been to the Portland State Bookstore, like you go downstairs, there's a sort of glass stairway thing that you're in, and I'm like a cartoon about women. And I look through the glass and I see that girl, like the burrito girl. And I look at it, she looks at me, and like the steps go down, and I just walk out like this, like a cartoon, just straight out like this, and then fall straight down to the next floor, you know, landing. And I went, whoop, and I kind of go, and I look, and she's still staring at me. I'm looking at, you know, her, and I kind of, all right, and, you know, I don't see Naomi, and the only person I see is that girl. So I walk down, and I say, hey, I'm here to meet Naomi. And Naomi gave me this 2 mason jars full of the best pot I've ever had in my life. This is really cool. And so, so it's kind of sad at this point because Patrick went into the hospital, and he was just supposed to have some tests, but he never came out alive. He just died in his sleep. And he had a funeral. And I felt like, you know, fuck, man, I wanted to kill this guy. And, you know, there's things that, like I say, that were between us, so we never talked about. But his being out of respect, I should go. So I went, and you know, I'm looking around at all the people that you know, that were his friends and family, and that loved him. And the church was a big church, and it was full of people. He was really a nice person and had a lot of friends and everything. And I'm looking around and thinking, what if they're all so sad, you know, and I felt more like an observer, really. I mean, I didn't know the guy that well, and the experience that I had with him wasn't, you know. great or whatever. But but I thought, like, this is a good lesson. I mean, if you're, like, right now I'm heartbroken, it's actually kind of a similar situation. And I think I would have freaked out way more than I did, just because I know, it's okay, it's going to be fine, everybody's fine. Don't freak out so bad that, you do anything you really regret, which I haven't. And, but the thing is, so that burrito girl, afterwards, after the ceremony and everything, and she was just super nice and really cool. She had a boyfriend by this time, but that's cool. But we actually talked. I told her my name, and she told me her name, which I made her repeat like 7 times, and I still can't remember what her name was. So maybe it's good that we never went out, because I can't. She has an odd name. She's very cute, but she has a really weird name. I can't remember it. So anyway, I don't know if this was even really a story, but the last thing is that she said, I think she knew that I had a crush on her, and her way of sort of saying, well, you probably should have asked me out when you had a chance. She said, when I saw you at the bookstore that day and you kind of made a fool of yourself, I asked Patrick, could I get his number to call him up and ask him for a date? And then she said, well, he said that I was flatulent during sex. And so, anyway, that's it. So thank you all, and happy Valentine's Day.